So most studies in biomanufacturing focus on life sciences, the biology and chemistry behind these processes. The field of operations management is itself something new to explore for most biomanufacturing practitioners. In the operations management, there are a lot of studies that look at manufacturing systems and healthcare operations, but we realize that there is really not much work on improving biomanufacturing efficiencies. So that's the reason why we were really excited to figure out how we could link operations management and biomanufacturing under a unified interdisciplinary framework. Especially, we were curious to know if we could use the power of operations management to improve efficiencies, to reduce costs and lead times in protein manufacturing. I also wanted to say this is something unique. So we believe that this is one of the first studies that look at protein manufacturing from operations management perspective. So this research is part of my PhD dissertation. And during this collaboration, I had weekly visits to Aldebaran over the last 2-3 years, and I mainly observed their operations, shadowed their processes, and tried to understand the daily challenges they face in the lab. The tool that we have developed for Aldebaran is using some stochastic optimization models, especially the theory of sequential decision making under uncertainty. We tried to develop some tools and models that address the challenges that scientists are facing every day in the lab. So the problem itself has really unique flavors that are really because of biomanufacturing operations themselves. For instance, the scientists, when they conduct a chromatography step, they typically have to compromise on protein yield in order to improve the quality of the batch. So the question is, how much do you compromise on yield, how much do you compromise on quality, and you have to specifically meet customer requirements on these production processes. And these operations are very expensive, and the scientists have to make a lot of different decisions, and most of the time the problem has a very complex combinatorial nature. For instance, if you make one poor decision in the first chromatography step, then it would impact the outcome of all subsequent purification operations, and eventually you might just fail to meet customer requirements at the end of this whole purification process. So the trade-offs between quality, yield, the combinatorial nature of these problems were very interesting to solve from mathematics point of view. So the tool will help them identify whether the customer expectations are achievable or not. For instance, by looking at the outcome of these simple plots, these simple charts that we have, the tool will help Aldebaran identify whether they could meet the customer requirements in terms of protein, yield, and purity. By looking at the outcomes generated by the tool, Aldebaran can decide whether they can really achieve the customer expectations given a starting material, whether the starting material is poor or not, or whether they can provide performance guarantees to the clients about achieving their customer requirements. And I think providing performance guarantees is also something very important, especially in biomanufacturing, because everybody knows that this is a very challenging operations, these are very challenging processes, and providing performance guarantees can have some important visibility for the production pipeline for both the client and the biomanufacturer. Currently, the model that we have developed addresses chromatography operations. It's basically modeling protein purification chromatography operations, and this is something common in all other biomanufacturing companies. They also use the same type of processes, the same type of operations, so they would also have similar type of challenges at Aldebaran. The tool that we have developed for Aldebaran can actually be used for other biotech companies that work on protein research and development. The tool can also help them reduce their lead times and costs, because the idea is that you take the outcome of the scouting runs and then you skip the validation step. Instead of the validation step, you run the optimization models that we have developed, and then you use those outcomes for the production run. So skipping the validation step, intermediary step in between, would help them save at least 30% of their lead times and costs.
Nice. 30%. That's awesome. I'm just curious, what's your feeling on, like, I mean, you look at like the tool you've been able to provide and the impact that it's having. How does that make you feel? I'm just curious.
So it's really inspiring to work on some problems that come from industry, and usually I observe the challenges that Alderon is facing in their lab. I talk to scientists, try to understand how we could contribute to this special production environment as an industrial engineer. And then when I go back to campus, now I'm trying to figure out how we could transform all these challenges into some mathematical models, and then how we can implement these mathematical models to have some financial savings for the industry. Overall, I think it's really satisfactory and exciting to work. So it's really satisfactory and exciting to see the real impact of this tool, of these mathematical models, and then to see that the problem is coming from industry and then the proposed approach are implemented in the industry. That's really exciting to see the way how it works.